Hello. Seems a little loud. Hang on. It's better. Afternoon, everybody. You can post on Instagram. Hey, Ash. I knew I'd forgotten to do something. I didn't post. There we go. Hi Ash. Hi Fiona. I've got some sewing to do today, so that's what I'm doing. Hi Mika. Well, I think that's what I'm doing. What am I doing? What do we want to do? What do we want to do, guys? Favourite time of the week? No, you're just saying that because it's true. Nerf! How are we, guys? Okay, so today, being what it is, with craziness that is ensuing and such like stuff, I am going to make anyone who is a regular a moderator for today, because I've seen live chats over the last couple of days. They've just been absolutely swamped with political crap. So you all have my permission today. If you see anything, any trolls in the dungeon, political crap, anything like that, just kick them out. No questions. No, oh, shall I put them in a timeout? Just tap on the dots next to their name and kick them. Block them, in fact, because I don't want that crap. I don't want any of that crap. Hopefully we won't have any problems, but just in case we do. My regular 4 or 5 mods, if it kicks off like Stevie J's stream did the other night, it'll be a nightmare. So let's be preemptive and know that, yeah, we're not doing politics. We're just silently crossing our fingers and indulging in some escapism. And therefore, if you see anything, any political crap, or people that we don't know coming in, doing anything, causing trouble, kick them out. Block them. Because I'm not having it. So, and I don't know if you mods can make other mods. I think only Katie can do that because she's an admin. Might be worth checking. Because if you can, then anybody who's regular, except for Rachel, do not give Rachel spanners. She's a tool all on her own. She does not need a spanner. Hi, Rach. But if you are able to give people spanners, then just hand them out to everybody who's a regular, because I don't want any of that today. They're not permanent, they're just for today's stream, because you can't have too many mods. But, hi Tanette. Yeah, anybody who's always here, just hand them a spanner. Tell them to block people. You can't make mods. Okay. I'll do it then as I see people coming in. Or I'll try to do it with... I'll spend the first 5 minutes making regulars mods. Because I'm not... And anyone with a spanner, just... Any crap, kick them out. I don't think we'll have any problems. They don't tend to come to the how-to housewife DIY channel. But, you know... Don't want to make any assumptions, do we? Best to be prepared. I'm assuming... Oh, I don't know if this is the best thing to do. I don't know if you'll be able to see what I'm doing. The problem with my sewing is it's all black, so it's really hard to see what I'm doing. But basically, this is going to be a pirate shirt. This is basically all the shirt. Everything's pinned together. The seams and the flat seams are seams are basted. The gathered seams they're gathered, but they're not gathered in place. They're just mid-pointed. And I haven't cut the hole for the neck to put the collar on yet, because I can't work out whether the collar goes all the way round or just part of the way round, so I don't actually know how big to cut it. So that's not a job for today, that's a job for later. What else do I have? I also have my mini quilt to work on. I also have... Well, I did have a skirt that I was going to hem. But I can't do that. I need my mum. I need my mama. I need my mama. My mum used to study haute couture fashion in a proper fashion house in London, and she knows how to do all sorts of things that I don't know how to do, and this skirt is not something I'm willing to take apart until I know what I'm doing with it. And even then, I might not take it apart. I might just modify it and then wait until I see my mum again and get my mum to do it. We've also got, on the arty side, we've got journaling, bullet journaling, and my Poe book that I'm still working on, and probably will be for the rest of this month and up to Christmas, because so much to do. Yeah, I know what I'm doing in theory. The basic sewing bits I'm fine with. I also know that I am not capable of gathering this seam evenly. So I think what I'm going to do is mark the halves and the quarters and pin tuck it, because I don't think I can do this and get it to sit the way I want it to sit. So I think that's a bit beyond me, unless I do it by hand. I suppose I could do it by hand. But basically all I've got to do is cut a T for the neck, put the bind the edges, and then put the collar on. But I don't know whether the collar goes all the way round, because it's the length of the neck, which sounds like it should. That's what it should do. It's the full length of the base of the neck, so it sounds like it should go all the way round that slit, which means the slit needs to be so many inches wide. But I'm not 100% sure, and I think I need to watch Bernadette's video again, I want to sew stuff, but I don't know if I can. You know how to make taro bags and wraps. Oh, okay. So something completely different. Here's what you do. Everything you order for Christmas from Amazon, okay? Anything you order between now and December, go for free gift wrap. It's Christmassy. Drawstring bag. Come in lots of different sizes, lots of different colours. Mine always tend to be green from my depot, but they come in blue, red, gold, silver, green. Use them. Job done. Don't need to make your own taro bags. The slit is just a slit. Yeah, it's a slit with a T-bar, and then you bind the T-bar, and then the collar goes around, but I don't know if it sits like an inch away from the slit or if it goes all the way round the slit and it V-necks. I need to double check that, but I need to watch the video to check. Otherwise, I don't know how big it's got to be, see? Because if it's got to go all the way round, it only needs to be half the width of the collar. But if it's got to go all the way round plus an inch, then it needs to be half the width of the collar plus 2 inches. 1 inch, no, 2 inches, yeah. So, Crown Royal bags work too, yes. Hello, Arthur. Hi, Burgess. I'm making everybody mods today. All the regulars are being mods. Because I've been in several live streams over the last few days and it's just been completely inundated with political crap. So if you see anybody... Ooh, Katie, can you make mods? Katie's here. Katie's my admin, so she should be able to make a mod. I hope so, anyway. But yeah, for the first 5 minutes, I'm just making everybody an admin, a mod, so that if you see any political spam or bots or crap, just block them, kick them out. No question, no time out, no second chances. I'm that kind of a person. The collar is normally even with the edge of the slit. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. But I want to just double check and be sure. I don't know if you can sign in as me when I'm streaming. You can only log in one place, I think. Okay, so never mind. I'll do it for the first 5 minutes. And then hopefully that'll be enough people. It's only just in case we start getting any crap, because I've seen several live streams completely inundated over the last day or two. I thought you were an admin. So you, in theory, you should be able to do it. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do? You want to make taro bags. Pain in the arse, people. I don't have any material handy to do that. I would have to go and root out my stash. Okay, hang on. Give me a second. Let me go and root out my stash. Hi, baby. Hi. Hello, baby. You go, girl. Okay. Hi. Oh, you can. Oh, God, I'm here talking to myself. YouTubeception. Awesome. Anybody who is a regular, make them a mod. And then at the end of the stream, take them all away again. Okay, what do I have? I've got lots of stuff. I could make something. I've had requests for pen wraps before as well. Huh. I just had an idea. I wonder. Wonder. These hedgehogs. They're cute. Halloween was awesome. We did a stream over on Patreon. We all hung out and did stuff. I know what I'm going to do. I like this fabric. I think it's really cute. And I have lots of different brightly coloured bits and pieces that I could use with it. So we've got that. Let's see, we've got red and yellow and pink and green. Orangey-ish, purple and blue. How about we make a rainbow thingy? And that's some elastic there, I'll need that. Okay, let's see, have we got a... I don't like that pink. Let's swap that pink out for that one, because that's the same weight of fabric. These are all batik fabrics that my friend made. Have we got a green batik? I don't know. Have we got a nicer green? That's a nicer green. It's not the same. It's not a batik, but it looks nicer. What about the blue? I don't want to use that because I want to use that for something else. How about... I've got the matching green to go with the blue. I kind of like the fact that it's all different patterns. Oh, except the purple and pink are the same. Okay, well that's okay. I've got that bit of purple instead. So that's a different pattern then. Okay. Alrighty. Here's what we're gonna do. It's really confusing that Katie is me. I'm not chatting in the chat, that's Katie. Okay, just so we're clear. So I've got all these different rainbow type fabrics. Which is completely not me at all. We literally have all the colours of the rainbow. And this cute little outer bit, right? And I think we need something to go on the inside that's plainer or cleaner, or that's too small. could use this, I think. It's got little... What about this? This has got little leaves on it. It's white with tiny little leaves and dots, and the leaves are the same colours as the green in this. I'm thinking. I know. Okay. I'm considering making some kind of pen wrap doobry holder thing. Technical term. You've got new kittens. Oh! We love the kittens. You have to come over to Zoom sometime and show us the kittens. Them's the rules. So, for those who were in class, the other day I was talking about housewives. Or, as they were once known, hussufs. Which is basically a little baby sewing kit. It's like a little mini fold-up thing, and you unwrap it, and you've got like a little baby pin cushion, and somewhere to put your needles, and somewhere to put your pins, and a little pocket for bits and bobs, and, you know, stuff like that. And I'm thinking, could do the same thing, but bigger, for bits and bobs. A couple of pencils, pen, bit of washi tape, you know, that kind of thing. I'm just wondering how big to make it. Because I'm actually thinking I don't need it to be all that big. I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use this. Goes better. Look at that. It's the same colours. It's really pretty. It's the same colours. We'll use that. Plus, it won't matter if it gets dirty, because it's batiqued. So I'm thinking... there, like that. Okay. Probably should iron this. A couple of little pockets. Maybe a tall pocket. Maybe a little zippy pouch thing with a popper on it, so you can, like a little envelope type thing, so you can put stuff in. Maybe a gathered pocket with some elastic, so that you've got a pocket that closes a bit tighter. And maybe a flat pocket, like a secretary pocket. You don't need to be that wide. And then another sort of just general flat pocket. That's what I'm thinking. And then you would seam it with this, right? So this would fold over like that, so it would be hemmed all the way around. Stick a ribbon on it, Could even put a piece of something hard in here so that this stays flat and you kind of fold it as opposed to rolling it. Or this could be a sideways pocket that you can put washi tape and stuff in, because that's bigger. Like, or, contrary-wise, you could put some elastic on here so that you can put things like scissors and stuff. And like a ruler and things. Then you'd have an elasticated pocket for washi tape and stuff. No, that's the elasticated pocket because it'd have a smaller opening. So an elasticated pocket for washi tape and things. A flat pocket that you could put bits of paper in. A poppered pocket for little bits and pieces like paper clips. A tall pocket for maybe a water brush or something. And then a smaller pocket for pens. What do you think? I am so into this sewing, it is ridiculous. I am so into sewing at the moment, it's ridiculous. I've always been able to sew. It's just I never had a decent sewing machine. Now I've got a decent sewing machine, I'm like, sew all the things. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with a sketch. I recommend doing this, especially if you're making up your own pattern or you're putting your own thing together, because if you have to put your thing down and walk away, you will forget. You will absolutely forget what you planned. So grab your notebook and write it down in pencil. When you've finalised what you're going to do, you can then change it around and write it down in pen so you can remake it at any time. So, if you want to play along, go and grab some scraps of fabric. If you want to try it later, grab a pencil and paper. And don't forget, you could hand sew this too. I love hand sewing. I love hand sewing little baby projects like this. Absolutely. Okay, so this piece of fabric is about the right size, I think, for what I want. I'm thinking by the time you roll it up and it's all seamed and hemmed, it's going to be probably about that big. So that works for me. I like that. That's a good size. So let's see how big that is. So it is 21 by 11. So it's a half of a fat quarter. A long half. So a fat quarter. A fat quarter is, there's your metre square or your yard square. These are 4 fat quarters, right? And you want a half of one of those that way. So approximately 21 by 11, but it won't be exactly because it won't be exact. Just take it from me A yard and a metre are not the same. All fat quarters are not the same size. Sometimes they count the metre as the width of the fabric, which is not a metre, it's 66 inches, and that just gets really confusing. So just take it from me, if you've got a fat quarter, you want half of it lengthways. So you've got a long rectangle. And then you want another piece that is the same length, approximately. It doesn't have to be the same width. So mine is actually only 8.5 inches wide. So we want, let's draw it on here. So we want a 21 by 11. I'm going to call it a fat eighth because I'll know what that means. And then 21 by 8 to 11-ish. Any width will be fine because we can just cut it off or fold it over or whatever. Then you want scraps of fabric for the inside. Doesn't matter how many, doesn't matter how big. Big enough. You look at your own things and, you know, big enough. I'm going to do a pen pocket. Sorry, that's going to be a pen pocket there. This is why I do it in pencil, you see. Think in pencil, record in pen. Think in pencil, record in pen. Always works. So a pen pocket, a tall pocket, I'm going to call that a brush pocket. I've also just thought, was it Lisa said something about a paint palette? And I'm just thinking actually that would be a perfect size to be able to put a paint palette in if I wanted to. I'll have to make it a gusseted pocket. Or make it elasticated. But yeah, that would work. And I can always use it for something else. So yeah, let's make that the elasticated pocket. So it's going to be elasticated. And it's going to have pleats in it. And I'm going to call that paint pocket for my palette. And then this one we'll make with the little fold over for paper clips and things. Oh, it was Ashley, was it? Yeah, good idea. Yeah. So this one will make an envelope pocket with a flap for paper clips and things. This one will make a flat pocket just for stuff. And this one, I don't know about this one yet. We could turn it into a document pack with a stiff back, but then that will stop us rolling it up. We could put elastics on it so that we can put stuff into it like our scissors and things. In fact, we could put multiple, couldn't we? Because we could put one for scissors. And then we could have another one that's maybe for an eraser. Maybe put another couple down here just to slot things into. That might be a good idea. So one with elastics. And it doesn't even matter where we put the elastics. We can just randomly put elastics on it. So that's what I'm thinking. So as far as measurements, I kind of like the sizes that they're currently folded to. I don't think I need to measure how big it's going to be. I think that's plenty big enough to put a couple of things in there. That could hold 2 to 3 pens. That one we'll have to measure. So I'll put a little measuring tape symbol next to that one because we'll have to measure that one. That one we don't need to measure. That one we don't need to measure. That one we don't need to measure. So it's only that pocket that we need to measure. Everything else we can just do straight. Now I've got black stitching in my thing at the moment, and I do like my black stitching, so I think I'll black zigzag everything because it'll add a bit of black to it. There's not enough black here. It's quite a lot of black, but not enough. And what I'm going to do is I will turn this piece of fabric over that way. So the blue will cover that bright bit at the end, and then there's more black in it. That's better. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Now we can put green. This is reversible. No, it's not quite as bright on the other side. The red's not as bright, and I like the red. Okay. Green. Blue. Yellow. Pink. Purple. Red. That's better. I like that better. Alrighty. Super simple, this. We are going to it's over here. Started putting things away. It's so weird. You can do this with a ruler. You don't need a quilting square. So I don't need the back piece at the moment. What I'm going to do is make the pockets. So the only pocket that needs to be measured is that one. And it needs to be at least that wide to hold that. Maybe needs to be a bit taller. We'll do it that way. Right. That works. But we'll fit it into that space. ish. Flat pocket, let me think. Flat pocket. You know what? I could do the flat pocket like that and put this as two little pockets on the front of it with press studs to put paper clips and things in, or even one big pocket on the front. That would work. And then roly, 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 roly. I mean, it's going to be huge, but you know, that's the nature of pen wraps, isn't it? They're huge. Ribbon. Yes. That will work. All right, so step the first. And we don't need the back piece yet. That's the last bit that will go on. First thing I want to do is make sure that this is square. Pretty sure it is because it was cut square. It's got a blip there. Okay. And now we will hold that thought. I keep putting things away and now I don't know where anything is. You can move over there. Aha! Okay. There we go. Do it properly, shall we? How about if I don't teach you all my bad habits? Okay. This is Amazon packing paper, and what I do is I cut a bit of cardboard, fold it up, and then roll the packing paper around it, and I just keep adding to it every time I get packing paper, and I use this for pattern cutting. It's very useful because you can just throw it away afterwards if you don't want to keep it and not feel bad in any way. Gonna need some pins, and I'm gonna need to, that's my light. I can't undo that one. Let's unplug that one. That should be all right. And plug these in. I have an iron somewhere, but last seen this time last year, or last summer rather, when I used it for drying coffee papers. So I'm just going to use my straighteners. It's not like I'd use them for anything else, is it? I have a scraps bag as well that I've started so that I can put things in. Now, this is quite flimsy fabric. So what I'm thinking, I have some interface somewhere. I'll have to pull that out, but it's basically stuff that you just cut it to the same size as your fabric and you iron it on. and it makes your fabric stiff. You know what I mean, right? But I'm not going to put it on this bit. I don't want it to be so stiff that it doesn't roll. So I'll put it on the outer bit, because this outer bit is going to be really easy. So you take your, I don't know what you call it there, where you are, but we call it bonder web. You cut it to the size you want, which is usually slightly inside. Don't put it in your seams. It's not fun to sew. Iron it on, and then you would put this bit on top with the bits on it, pin it into place, and then you would roll your edges in like that to create a nice corded edge. Do it on all four sides, and it hides all the edges and bonds and things and gives it a bit more sturdiness. But I don't know where mine is right now, and I don't know where my iron is either. So that's basically that bit. That's all you've got to do with it. It's literally just putting a coat on it. This is the complicated bit. Not quite hot enough yet. This is pure cotton, so it's quite hard to iron. There we go. Let's get in there. The bit in the middle probably won't get pressed because it's not going to reach that far, I don't think. But I don't think it'll matter because it's going to be, it's the edges that are mostly wrinkled. The centre just has a basic crease that I can flatten out as I go. This is a pretty handy way of ironing little projects like this, where you've got to do lots of little bits and pieces. Let's do that bottom edge again. Yeah, so there's only that little bit there, and I can flatten that as I go, so I'm not worried about that. So let's square this up. I think this edge is straight. Nope. This edge is straight here. So I'm going to take that edge and I'm going to use that as the right angle. So this will be easier with a ruler. I don't know why I didn't get my ruler out in the first place, but there you go. So this edge is straight. I know it's straight because it's a salve edge. So if I line my thing up with that, and then line my ruler up with that, I can see that this is fairly straight actually. It's a little bit up on each corner, but that's not going to matter, I don't think. Use this edge straight. A couple of millimeters off, but I don't think that's going to matter. This edge is completely off. So this edge is probably going to need trimming down. Yeah, so I'm just going to grab a pencil. Yeah, it's really just that blip in the middle there that needs chopping off. It's not until you cut the bits off that you can see how wonky that bit of fabric actually was. It looks straight, but it wasn't straight. Can go in the bin, and that can go in the scraps box. We now have a straight piece of fabric. These edges are not fraying, but this edge is. So I'm gonna just pink this edge as well because it is slightly up on the edge. So if I come in at this corner here and just trim along the edge, that will get rid of that very, very slight bow on the corners. And it will stop it fraying, because that's getting on my nerves. God, I hate these scissors! There we go. I'll make that a lot easier to work with now. I'm also just very quickly going to uncrease these, and then I can turn the heater I can turn these off and I don't have to worry about them falling on the floor or anything. Don't ever drop your hair straighteners on nylon carpet. Ask me how I know. These are only tiny ones because the only bit of my hair I have ever straightened is my fringe. But it's better than nothing at all. It works. I think this is actually 2 pieces. It is. So I only need 1 piece. So here's that one. So for anyone just tuning in the tradition of the old housewife or hussif sewing kits, we are making a kind of a pen roll from scraps, and so far we haven't measured anything. In fact, the only thing that's important for this project is that it's roughly square or roughly cornered. As long as you... Okay, I don't need all of this, but I'm gonna iron it anyway. Might as well. Okay, I can turn that off now. Which means I can put it somewhere safe, that it won't catch fire to anything. Alrighty. This is my panel. The first thing I'm going to do is hem this. Dawn Whiteley, thank you for the super chat. That's very kind of you. Going towards my coffee fund. Oops. I just threw coffee all down my jumper. Because of course I did, it's a clean jumper. Of course I threw coffee all down it, and now I can't find a cloth to wipe it up with. Well, that's this jumper going in the wash then, I guess. Love watching the live streams when you can catch them. Thank you. I'm glad they're fun. Okay, so if you don't know what you're doing, I'm going to pretend I don't know what I'm doing. I actually do know what I'm doing, but I'm going to pretend I don't. What you want to do is grab a ruler, and just like you would if you were doing paper, it doesn't have to be a fancy quilting ruler either. You can do it with one of these. All you do is line it up so that you've got a decent allowance, and as long as you make your seam allowance the same everywhere, doesn't matter how big it is. So I'm going to make my seam allowance about there. Draw a line. If you use pencil, you can erase it. If you use friction pen, you can iron it out. If you use chalk, you can rub it off. Now this one, because it's a longer edge, I can't tell exactly where I'm putting the line. So that's where your quilting ruler comes in. You put your quilting ruler on the edge. You hold this ruler where you want it to be, where you think it needs to be, and then you check with the quilting ruler. See, that's not square. There's more material here than there is there. So my line is slightly off, so I need to adjust my line very slightly. I don't know how that's cut so strangely. That must not be the straight edge. That must be the edge that I cut afterwards. So let's do the other edge first. This edge should be straighter. There we go. That's more like it. Yeah, that's straight. And then you line that bit of ruler up with that bit there. And that, where's the line gone? There we go. That should be pretty much straight. It's a little bit off. This corner is a little bit curved up, but that's okay. Then, if you want to be all professional about it, you pin your hems down and stuff, but I don't bother. I do it by eye most of the time, if I'm frank. I just roll it over like that and run my fingers along it, and there you go, there's your hem. Hey Pam! So I put my fingernail on the line, roll it over, put my fingernail on the line, roll it over. There's those two edges done. Just don't stretch your fabric when you do this, because it will stretch and go wibbly wobbly. Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey will happen. Okay. So I'm gonna do this little hem, and you will have to tell me let's hang that there, that should be okay. There's my accelerator. Ugh. Okay. You'll have to tell me if this is too loud. So I'm just going to zigzag this. Actually, no, I'm just going to straight stitch this bit. Knew that was going to happen. Gosh darn it. Bloody flimsy fabrics. Where's my little scissors? That was my fault. I knew that was going to happen and I still let it happen. Some days you do that. The corner of the fabric went down into the foot, and I knew it was going to happen because I backed up too early. But it's like car crash TV. Sometimes you just sit there and watch it happening, and then you're like, why did I do that? Try that again without the oops, shall we? Leave that stitch in, that won't do any harm. Round 2. This material is cut on the bias and it's stretching. Yay! Okay, was the machine too loud? Do I need to mute it when I sew? Might be a little loud if you're in headphones, but hopefully it shouldn't be too bad. Okay, one end done. So that's the end that we'll see. When we put it down on top of the other piece of fabric, that's what we'll see. And then we'll fold the other bit, the bit of orange. It'll be like that. And then the other bit will get folded in and then folded over. See? So don't worry if your sewing's a bit wonky. Everybody's sewing's a bit wonky when they start. Wonky is better than not done at all. Murph, thank you for the $3. That's very sweet of you. Some more towards my coffee fund. By the way, if you can't sew very well, you could always do this with just that hemming stuff that you just stick it onto one edge, roll it over and iron it flat. Okay, so that's 2 edges done. You're sewing your linen shirt. Gleanne has made the most beautiful purple Edwardian skirt. And now she's doing a linen shirt to go with it. She's ahead of me. I'm working on my shirt. I haven't got as far as my skirt yet. I've got the material for my skirt. Okay, now this one is too long. I'm gonna have to pin this one. But first, what do we do when we're folding paper and we've got to do a corner? We miter the edges, right? So, I'm not going to miter the whole thing. I'm just going to miter the inside. Take that corner off. Gives you less bulk when you're turning it down. Which is why I didn't worry about this stitch, because I'm going to cut it off. I'm trying to tidy up as I go because I keep ending up with little bits absolutely everywhere. But I think that's perhaps part of the game. Okay. Now for this one, I'm fairly certain that it's just going to fold flat anyway, so I'm going to pop a pin in this end. Nope. There we go. Just to roll it up, I might end up moving this one. And I'm going to roll the rest of it. Let's roll this end. Again, a proper seamstress would just steam these ends in. And if I was wearing something making something to wear, I probably would do that too. I would stop being lazy and I would actually go and get my iron. But it's only a pen roll, for goodness sake. Okay, so I'm judging by the feel of the roll of the fabric if that is flat. It's like paper. If you feel resistance, it's not completely square. So that bit is definitely flat. Now I'm going to undo this one. To make sure it's flat. Do the same with this one. And if you've done it right, the two edges here should sit completely flush. Which mine do. So, yay! Never sew over pins. I don't care what you see professional seamstresses doing. Never sew over your pins. For a beginner, you take your damn pins out. Okay. What I'm going to do with this is put a pin. Oh, I took that pin out. That was silly. I'm going to put a pin right at the edge here because I'm not actually going to sew that bit. Just to hold that corner down because that corner does not want to stay put. And then I'm going to put that on the other side of the foot. So I'm not actually going to sew over that pin. Clamp it in and then pull the pin out. I'm going to put this one back in. Oh, actually I can leave that one out. I don't need it. Okay. And repeat. Just going to do the same this end to stop that slipping. Tammy, thank you for the super chat sticker. What is that? Coffee for me. Thank you. It's very kind of you. This channel is run by coffee and enthusiasm. Okay. Repet. So then we have our finished centerpiece with what to sew onto. Now this time I've actually got a line to follow because I actually lined this one. So just doing the same as before, but this time I'm pinning it because it's a longer seam. If you're going to hand sew something like this, I recommend basting it, unless you're very good at hand sewing. Alrighty. Step 1, complete. Alright, I think the first one I want to do is this one. I just want to put this patch on this edge. So it's basically the same height, and I want it to be maybe that wide. And just going to eyeball it. I don't really care if it's completely straight or not. Close enough is close enough in my world. Let's see. Yeah, close enough. I need to do with my square actually for this width. Flattish, flattish. That corner's a little bit off. Let's draw a straight line on that. Where's my pencil gone? You stole my pencil! Fine, I'll use pen then. I don't want to know what bits are cut off. Now, this one, we're going to sew flat onto here, but I want to hem it as we go. Step one. You know what? I think I'm going to pin that lot out of the way. There we go, that's better. Straight. It can go right up to the edge because these edges are going to get hemmed anyway. These edges are going to get folded over. So it really only needs to be folded down and hemmed on this edge. Because remember, we're going to fold up and over the outer edge on these bits. So these bits actually only need tacking. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to, oh, thimble. I'm just going to put a knot stitch and run that up to the corner. Just to hold that in place. The fewer pins you can use in a project, the better, as far as I'm concerned. Because basting threads, you can just pull these out and put them in your waste or recycling threads. I use it for stuffing. So rather than leaving pins in stuff, which if you've got kids or pets, not a good idea. If it's just you and you're sewing on your table, by all means go for it. Doesn't really matter, but especially if you've got cats. I learned that when I had cats. Because cats like to sit on stuff. They like to check that things are made of warm. So I'm just tacking that down in the corners. And because this is a longer edge and I need to sew down that edge, I'm just going to put one in the middle of this one for good measure. Just because. If I would have put a pin there, then I will put a basting stitch. That just means that when I come to do the folding over of the edge, I don't have to pin this into place in order to roll over the edge and sew it. I can just roll it over and be done with it. So that's those two done. And now this edge, all we've got to do is roll it over, press it, hold it flat and stitch it. I think I'm just going to put a pin in either end like I did with the other one, just because it helps hold it straight while you get it under the foot. So what I mean by putting a pin in the end, I put a pin in the end here like this. I start the foot here and I sew forward. Then I take the pin out and I do my reverse stitch and go back to where the pin was. Then I continue. Does that make sense? And then when I get to the end here, you've seen me do already, just make sure it's all nice and flat when you pin it. So I'll put the pin in there. And when I come up, as soon as the foot is shaped like that, and as soon as the pin gets to here, before it touches the foot, but it's under the angle of the foot, I'll take the pin out and reverse and go forward. And just because this is a little bit funny fabric that likes to stretch in all directions, I'm going to pop a pin in the middle here as well while I sew it, and then I'll take that out as I go. Okay. Now this is a seam that will be visible, so I'm going to do this as a scallop. Let's do a scallop seam. It'll be nice. So I'm going past my pin, put the foot down, put the needle down, take the pin out, and then it's held in place. And I can start I'm actually going to do a back stitch first, which you wouldn't normally do, but this is a fancy stitch, so I don't want to have too much going over. And then all you've got to do is let your sewing machine do the work and hold it in a straight line. Don't look at the needle. If you look at the needle when you're sewing, you won't get the straight line. I'm putting my edge of my thread here so that it's... Oh, I wonder if I can show you that way. I don't think I can. Don't think my... No, my camera's not limber enough to show you that. I am... There's a hole like that in the foot, and I am running my fabric edge along that hole, along the edge of that hole. So I'm getting that much of a seam allowance. I hope that makes sense. I've messed the camera up now, and I am going to have to fix that in a second. But don't look at your needle, especially if you're doing embroidery stitches, because it'll make you... It'll give you, I'm not sure what it's called. I don't think it's vertigo. It's something else, isn't it? You know, like if you sat in a car in a traffic jam and the car next to you moves, or you move, and you can't tell which is moving, but one of you is. That's the feeling you get from it. So don't do that. Don't look at the needle. Don't look at the needle! These are all tips for beginner sewers, by the way. If you know what you're doing, have at it, do what you like. I'm at that point where I know enough to know that there's certain little tricks and tips that I wish I'd known as a beginner. I still class myself as a beginner, but there are certain little tips and tricks, like this pinning tip. I wish I'd found that out or known about it before I started sewing, because that would have made my earlier projects so much better. But I figured it out on my own, and then I'm passing it to you. So you can do it too. So we're coming up to the scoop. The pin's just gone up under the scoop of the foot. So I'll take the pin out, because that's held in place enough now. Because it's an embroidery stitch and I'm going to overlap the edge anyway, I'm not worried about it looking weird, which is why I'm doing reverse. Normally I wouldn't do that. If you're going to see your embroidery stitches, you don't really want to do that. You want to bury it in the hem, but it's going to be covered over anyway, so I'd rather have it secure. So there we go. There's one first piece. The elastic I will sew on by hand. It'll be easier. So on this piece, I'm going to sew on bits of elastic in various places so that I can put erasers or, you know, pin erasers or scissors, or, you know, put my little scissors in there, something like that, you know, that sort of thing. Okie dokie. So the second pocket, I was going to do a little envelope pocket, but I think what I'm going to do is do the envelope pocket on top of the other pocket. I think that's a better idea. In fact, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take this piece of fabric and I'm going to turn it into a full envelope pocket. Now I want to make sure the fabric is square in order to do that, so I'm going to fold it up, line up the corner that I know is straight, which is this one, and then just double check that everything else kind of matches. And anything that doesn't match, again, just mark it off. Where did my pencil go? Like, seriously. If you've got a rotary cutter, you could just do that and roll it, but I don't have my rotary cutter to hand, and in order to use it, I've got to get my mat out, and it's a whole thing. So, you know what? I'm just going to crease it, and then I'm going to cut it off. There you go, straight edge. Scraps. All right. This pocket doesn't, this material doesn't seem to have a right side and a wrong side, so I'm just going to go with whatever's brightest. Because it's hand-dyed fabric, it's pretty much even. So I think what I'm going to do is a little bit longer, perhaps. So this will be the outside. No, this will be the inside. Fold it up. and that will fold down, and I'll just put a popper or something on there just to keep things in the thing. So this, I'm thinking I might just put one small pocket on the front here. Okay, think. Do you need two small pockets, or would it be handy to have just a little? It would be handy to just have a little pocket. Okay, let's just cut a corner. So that's a square, so let's just add a bit for seam allowance on one edge and a bit for seam allowance on the other edge, and that will do. Wrong side of the fabric, but doesn't matter. Something this small is usually easiest to do by hand. But I'm impatient, so... Okay, make sure you put your stitch back to a straight stitch. Oh, actually, this is going to be seen. No, let's stick with a straight stitch. Let's not get overly fancy. Not necessary. Clip the corner, fold that in, turn and repeat. Clip the corner. Oops. Fold it in. Turn and repeat. Clip the corner. Clip this corner as well. Fold it over. Turn. I know you couldn't see any of that. I'm sorry, I don't have an angle for my camera for that like that. But basically all I've done is sewn that into a little corner pocket. And yes, this corner looks like a hot mess, but guess what? If we position it right, like a little patch pocket like this, when we fold up the seam allowance, it's going to cover that anyway. So then this one, this is tricky because we need to hem the top and we need to do the sides. So it's tricky, but it's doable. First, we're going to fold it up to where we want it to go, inside out. Okay? So the right side that you're going to use is on the outside. And we're going to pin this corner. Which I know sounds weird, but that's what we're going to do. Actually, we're going to pin it that way. Okay. Is that the right way round? Let's double check. Yes. Okay, so what we're going to do is sew this up to where the edge is here of the back piece. When we get to that point, we'll start folding this bit in. We'll clip this bit and we'll fold this bit in. And we'll fold this in and we'll fold this in until we get all the way back round to here. And then we'll clip it. And we'll sew the seam. I wish I could show you what I'm doing. Let me just see if I can attempt to move this to where you can see what I'm doing. Let's give it a try, shall we? I mean, it might be upside down and back to front, but at least you'll be able to see what I'm doing, right? How's that? Okay, that seems to be working. And then let's focus you so you can see what I'm doing. How's that? Light's a bit weird, but I think that works. Okay, here we go. So this is what I mean by using my pin to guide my thread. So I put my pin under there like that and I push it past the needle and then I drop the foot. Whoops, I want it lined up there. So I've got this bit, this edge is lined up with that edge. Then I can take that pin out and that piece is clumped down in place. Drop your needle, forward, back, over where the needle was, and then keep coming up. And then this bit, here's the pin, and that's where you stop. See how it's just underneath, but it's not actually caught under the foot, it's just under the foot. Once it's that far, that's tight enough. So I'm going to walk the foot forward so I can see where the edge of the material is. I can take the pin out now. So I'm looking for the edge of this material underneath, walking the foot forward until it's just shy of that. I'm going to leave a tiny lip and then I'm going to backstitch. Now I'm going to drop the needle and lift the foot. Huh, weird, eh? Now where that line is, I'm going to snip the fabric just a tiny bit, just enough to roll this over and drop the foot on top of it. Lift the needle and move it at an angle to catch that bit there. because obviously you've folded it in, so it's going to not be quite right. Okay, now it's lift it very slightly, and now we can sew this bit. Clip the corner. Didn't leave myself enough space, sorry. Fold it over. Oops, I cut through 2 layers. Never mind. Doesn't matter. It's fine. It's fine. Fold it over. That's going to be a pain in the butt now. There we go. And just because that is going to be a pain in the butt, I'm going to do a back stitch and then come forward again. Come up to the corner, put your needle down, lift your foot, turn your corner. Whoops, what's going on there? Oh, it's caught. Okay, there we go. Fold your fabric, line it up, drop your foot. I think that caught on the corner. Bugger. I can fix that by hand, I'm not bothered. Clip this corner while we're here. I'm sorry, am I boring you, Miss Maddie? Okay, so I can see where the edge of the fabric is here. Clip that. Fold it over. Ooh, come up to the corner. Back pedal. Swing it round. It's getting a little bit tight under there. Let's lift it up. Come on. You know you want to lift up. That's not a good sound. That's definitely not a good sound. Broke the thread. Gosh darn it. I can fix that bit by hand, I'm not bothered. So what did that get caught on? Oh, I lost the thread down in the bottom. Okay, that's fine. Come on. Up you come. Come on. All my thread are stuck. What's going on here? That shouldn't be happening there. Aha. Naughty not. Okay, at this point, I'm just going to chop everything off and pull all that out. And rethread my needle. My bobbin back in. Nope, that's the wrong way around. I always do that. Always get the bobbin the wrong way around the first time. Okay, we're back in business. Yeah, I can fix that by hand. I'm not even going to worry about it. I'm just gonna carry on. So coming down across this bit, walk it diagonal. Walk it straight. Okay. So what happened was the corner got caught up and the thread knotted. It happens. It's not the end of the world. Just chop it off. Keep going. Start again. So this is the bit that gnarled up, you see. But this is loose thread. So what I'm going to do is grab my needle, which I still don't keep putting in my pin cushion like I'm supposed to. I made a pin cushion, I still don't use the damn thing. I don't have the habit. So I'm just going to find the long piece of this thread, which seems to be that one. Come on. Always clip the end of your threads when trying to thread your needle. It always makes the job so much easier. Okay. And I'm literally just gonna do a few little back stitches on this corner. Use my pin cushion. And these other threads are all back stitched, so I can just chop them off. caught a little bit there, so I'm just going to trim that bit off. It's the inside anyway. It won't matter. Okay. Now we're going to mitre these corners completely because it's a proper corner. Turn it inside out. If you want to get your corners nice and crisp, use a pin. And if your seams pucker like that, just roll them and they'll lie flat. Now, I didn't sew all the way up on these seams. I sewed up all the way on these seams. What I'm going to do is take a little bit of ribbon. This is actually attached to my pin cushion, but I can show you what I mean. I'll take a little bit of pretty ribbon and I'll sew it over the raw edge like that and just sew it down on both sides. Make the edge stronger and it'll also look pretty. And since I have lots of black fabric, I'll probably just use a bit of black fabric scrap to do that. So this is going to sit on there like that, which is going to in turn sit on here like that. Which will have the outer piece, the raw edge. It will be sat like that on the raw edge. And we'll fold that over and tack it, and then fold that over and hem it. And then you won't see all that McGarvey at the bottom. Ta-da! See? Make sense? This one I will hand stitch on. It's too small to put under the machine. The extra bit here is too much. It's too fiddly. I will do this by hand. But again, I don't actually need to sew the bottom because that's going to get sewn in. When we baste this up onto here, that will hold on that piece. And then when we roll it up and sew that onto there, that will hem the bottom. So I don't need to sew anything more than I need to sew. So I don't only need to tack it along these two sides with a hem stitch and reinforce the corners, and that's it. And then that's like a nice tidy little, you know, if you wanted to put your, if you wanted to use this for sewing and pop your thimble in there or something, just make sure it's big enough to hold your thimble before you cut it. So you'd want it a bit wider to put a thimble in there, but you could use that for like stamps or stickers, or my eraser would fit in there, look. Once it's sewn down, my eraser would fit in there quite happily. See? It's coming along. So, the next thing I'm going to do, and this one, obviously, I mean, I could put ribbon around the edge of this as well. This doesn't look that tidy, but I can hand stitch a bit of ribbon or something onto that. But actually, this is going to fold down and have two press studs. So it doesn't matter. But the other thing you could do is take, let me use a bit of fabric like this. Take a strip of fabric, do this to it, pop it down inside there, like that, and sew those two edges together. along the edges there, and then just tack this bit down onto, when you tack it onto here at the top, tack it down there as well. Cut off any excess, and then you've got a nice neat inside as well. So you could do that. I might do that actually, because I can use a bit of this blue fabric for that, so it matches, so when it's open it matches. Yeah? Okay. In fact, let's do that. Let's do that while we're here, shall we? Do I want to get on to, what time is it? 6. What time did we start? 4. Yeah, let's finish this bit. Okay, let's finish this bit. So first I'm gonna actually cut your thread will help. This thread isn't actually very good, but I'm trying to use it up. Where did the end go? Okay. Oh, there it is. I will do my best to stay on camera. It's going to be tricky, but I will try. Now I want this to be quite durable, so I'm going to double it. Because this is sewing thread, it's not hand sewing thread. So let's just... tack it in place. Yes, I just stabbed myself in the thumb twice. This corner is where the tension's going to be when you take things in and out of the pocket. So I'm going to do a few extra stitches here. You don't have to go overboard, but just a couple of extra stitches will help. And then we're going to start in that stitch and we're going to come up. And we go straight down and we're going to come up. Straight down, come up diagonal. And if you're doing it right, you should just be left with little tiny stitches here. Use your finger underneath to hold your material taut. And then this bit is going to get caught under the folded hem. So instead of fiddling about with cutting it off and starting again, I'm just going to baste across. A couple of large stitches. I'll just hold that in place until it gets sewn down properly. Make sure you don't pull it in, because if you pull this, it will gather. You don't want to do that. Make sure it holds flat. And then I'm going to bring it down under here, under this corner. Again, make sure it's not pulling. And then to stop it pulling in any way, as I sew, I'm just going to do a anchor stitch underneath. Like that. I can take my pin out now. And then come back down this side. I think my patch slipped slightly. It might be a little bit wonky, but yeah, I don't care. The thing I like about handmade stuff is that, yeah, you can take hours making it look absolutely perfect and beautiful and make people gasp, but if you just throw it together, it looks handmade. And kind of for me, half of the charm of making things by hand is that they look handmade. That doesn't mean you have to be sloppy about it, but just accept that every corner is not going to be 90 degrees and every line is not going to be exactly parallel unless you take the time to make it so. And if you can't be bothered to take the time, then accept that it's not going to be completely perfect. It's going to look hand-stitched. My stitches on this side are a bit bigger than on the other. I will rectify that coming up towards the top because I don't want it to be a weak point. And I'm going to pass it inside the pocket, because this tiny little bit here is sticking out. So I'm going to fold that in and put my knot over it so it doesn't stick out. One little patch pocket. Ta-da! The charm of handmade is the irregularities. Yeah, I like being able to look at something and go, oh, that was hand stitched. Does that look like a pig's ear? Is it slightly wonky? Yes. Do I care? No. Because right? Cool. So for this bit, all I'm going to do is cut a piece that's slightly bigger and slightly longer than this. Fold it in at the edges, just like I did with this, and sew it onto there, like that. So that will get sewn onto there like that. This little bit that's too long will get flapped down in here. And when we sew this pocket, because this pocket is going to have to be sewn onto here, right? So we'll sew up to there. We'll hand stitch inside the pocket, and then we'll sew down here. That's the plan. So I guesstimate about that big. Oh, let's use this bit. This bit is almost exactly the right size. Yeah, perfect. That'll do. So I want to cut it. I'm going to cut it down there, just so that this is even. Why not? We're going to cut the edge off anyway, but it doesn't matter. Okay. That wasn't straight at all. Try that again, shall we? Doesn't matter that it's not straight. It's just like, okay, that's a little bit off. So this will be the bit that goes down inside the pocket. So let's do the top edge first. So let's roll over the top edge. Press it into place. I'm going to clip the corners because we're going to have to in order to fold down the sides. And instead of hand sewing this right now, I'm going to baste it into place. Really good at this. I'm good at MacGyvering things. I know enough about sewing to be able to put things together and make them stay. And I know enough about putting pieces of paper together to know how to put pieces of fabric together and make it work. and the rest I'm literally just making it up as I go along. I can't follow a pattern. If you gave me a pattern, I'd be like, what's that mean? Okay, so this bit is going to go on there. Doesn't matter that it's a little bit too long because this bit is going to get tucked in as well, remember? So this corner is going to get folded in too. That's where I'm going to put my knot. That's where I'm going to put my knot when I hand stitch it. That's where I'm going to put my knot for basting. It's just going to go there. The music is the Flute Gaming Chronicles by Katie Shesko, who I believe is here, and will furnish you with her links, should you wish them. It's actually also just underneath here, down there where it says Super Chat, just above that, it's got Katie's info. I keep meaning to turn it into an actual clickable link, but I forget. But her info is actually down in the description as well. Okay, so I'm just gonna make sure this is gonna fit sideways, which it is. Just gonna baste this onto this, like that. Whoops. Fold the edge in as I go. Fold this edge in. Put my knot there. So this bit will get folded down and placed in there. Like that. When we sew the pocket onto the other piece of material, we'll sew it across there, which will keep that flap down so nothing disappears up under the flap. Whoops, sorry, knew that was going to happen eventually. Make sure your basting stitches are flat, because like I say, if you put them too tight, that happens. So always check that your basting stitches are flat. And then we can fold this edge in. double check it's lying flat again. Knot it off. Done. So once that's finished, this will be sewn down, and you can trim off the edge if you want to, or you can just sew it as close to the end as you can. This will have a bit of basting ribbon across the edge, bias ribbon even, just something to encapsulate that raw edge, like that. And then the whole thing will fold over, a couple of press studs to make a little pocket. I'm the only marketing that Katie has, yes. She doesn't do marketing because she's silly. Okay, so the next thing to do is to pop this where we're going to put it on here so we can line up the next thing. Now, I don't want to baste this down because sewing that bit with this basted down is going to be a pain in the backside. So what I'll do is sew that bit around first, do the ribbon, then I will baste this down along the top edge and the bottom edge and the sides. I might even sew the sides down properly with a proper stitch. In fact, I might do that as soon as I've finished. I'm going to do this bit first by hand, put the ribbon on by hand, and then I'll use a zigzag stitch or something like that, something pretty, one of my embroidery stitches, to do the two sides. I can do the back of this by hand as well, because you're not going to see it anyway. And then this bit, again, will just be tacked and folded into the seam when we do it. So no need to worry about that bit. But what I do need to know is how wide the pocket is and where it's going to sit on this edge, so that I can place the next one. So I'm going to get this, line it up with the pocket, lift the pocket up, scooch it over the slightest fraction to account for the fact that the pencil is wide anyway. And that will basically sit just underneath the edge of that thing. See how it comes where it pinches in? It just shows there. You can erase that later if it bothers you. But that shows me where my next pocket is going to sit. Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum. Okay, next pocket is going to be the pink one. We already know that it is the right size. It is pretty much square already, I think. Yep, it's perfectly square already. So all I need to do is pink around the edges. Is that a salve edge? No. Gosh darn it. Would have been nice if it had been. Something else you can do with this fabric that makes it easier to work with, because it's not going to get washed, is to very lightly starch it before you start sewing. That will help too, because this is slightly starched and you see how it's much easier to cut it, because when you hold it up, it holds flat. So if you've got starch, you can give it a light spray with some starch when you iron it, and that will make it easier to handle. Because it's all flat pieces and folding, so that will be an advantage. Of course, it's not flat pieces now. I've scrunched it all up in my hand, is it? Okay, this one is going to be slightly different. What we're going to do is check where we're going to put the other pockets. So the green pocket, I think, probably be about that width. That'll be for pens. And then a taller pocket. There's the purple pocket. I only need a rough width. I don't need anything fancy, but it would be useful to know how big I need to do it. I think this is going to be about this wide because it only really needs to hold tall pens and brushes. So this is the width of the pocket I've got to work with, which is, well, let's call it near as damn it the width of my thing, and then that's easier and we can just take the width off that. So we need to make a pocket that fits into the width of this. And this does not fit into the width of that. So, first thing we're going to do, hem it all. Not hem it all. We're going to hem 3 edges. We're not going to hem the bottom. You'll see why in a second. My goodness me, I'm hungry. Okay. I think that's the nicer side, so let's hem it this side. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing as I did before. Let me move you around this way. I'm just wondering if I want this pocket to be a bit stiffer. No, I don't think it needs to be. Okay. Fold it in. I want as small a seam allowance on this one as I can get. I really don't want to have any big chunky bits on the edge. So I'm going to do very, very, very tiny. explaining what I'm doing because I am literally doing it exactly the same as I've done all the others. Ow! I just dropped that down on my finger. Okay. Now this is going to be a pleated pocket, which will look like the ones on the Delphonics pouches. And I want it to fit this. So I can see from here that I don't have more than about 1.5 inches to play with. And I only need it to stand out about that much. So I'm going to take my cue from that and I'm going to let's see, this is about there. So I'm taking roughly the height of the tin. I'll do that on both sides. Slightly off, doesn't matter. Now, on this edge we haven't sewn yet, we're going to bend these bits back out. Okay, I'm going to have to make it a little bit smaller than the width of this square because otherwise it won't work. I'm literally just going to fold those over about that much and put a pin in it. And I'm going to do the same over here, so let's just fold it over. There's the crease, so I'm going to just fold it over about that much. Pin it. Now what are we going to do? Come on, you've been watching for 2 hours. What's the next step? What's the next step? What do we do next? This is what our pocket's going to look like. Sides are going to be straight, obviously. It's going to have a proper pleat in it like that, so it stands out from the thingy, like that. Alright. So what's the next step? Come on, people! Have you been asleep for 2 hours? Never leave a pin in something if you can possibly avoid it. So the next thing we're going to do is baste this down. Goodness me. Where's my thing? This edge, again, is going to be tack the top so it doesn't move. It's actually the bottom, but yes. So I'm going to put a proper tacking stitch in this pleat. Just kind of baste it in a zigzag. Take the pin out. Make sure it sits flat. Anchor stitch. One side. Anchor stitch. Baste that edge down. Put the pleat down. Zigzag it up. Tie it off. And now, because you can see that it wants to pull outwards, right? So in order to keep it straight, we're also going to tack the top edge. This isn't going to get sewn. This bit is not going to get sewn. It's just going to be tacked. It just needs to be tacked to hold it in place while we sew this edge so that it doesn't fan out. So I'm literally just going to do a single back stitch. To hold it in place. And as soon as we've tacked this, we've sewn this bit down into the hem, we can remove all these tacking stitches. That end is too frayed. Let's use this end. Okay. That bit of thread is no longer long enough to use. Whoops. White thread disappears against flesh and I cannot see it. This is why I don't use white for basting. I don't use white for hand sewing. In fact, I don't use white for anything. Except mending white clothes. Now this already has a knot in it at the end, so I'm not going to bother back sewing. I will just knot it into place. But this, now that we know where this one is going to be, because we very cleverly marked it with a ruler, am I right? We can now put this one down on here. In line with that, and we can baste this one down, ready for hand sewing. Ow! Or machine. Actually, we could machine this one down. We could machine this one down. Let's do that. Make it stronger. I just stabbed myself with my needle twice. I told you, me and sharp objects, not a good idea. Okay, what have we got for this one? Let's do... Let's do that again. I like that stitch. It uses so much cotton. But it's a nice stitch. So let's see, it goes that way, so I need to sew it that way on this edge. put a long tassel on this one, because what I want to be able to do is whoops. Sew this, because again this is the weak point, remember. Actually, I've got 2 threads, haven't I? Let's use 2 threads. That would be much more sensible. And we'd be much more betterer. That would. Grr. Okay. Sorry. Oh, bye Katie, see you later. So again, this corner is where the stress will be when you're putting things in and out of the pocket. So this corner, I'm putting reinforcement stitches on. And I am going right the way through to the back of the fabric as well, because if you're only sewing into the pocket, then you're not reinforcing the seam to the back. This is the bit you want to reinforce, not the pocket bit. And I'm actually filling in that little bit of a gap there as well, because it's kind of annoying me that there's kind of a little bit of a gap in the stitching. So by finishing that all up nicely together, see, now it doesn't look ridiculous. Okay. That thread is no longer long enough to do anything with. Let's do the other side. I don't need to anchor this edge because, again, it's going to be sewn into what's already there. but also I reverse stitched at the bottom here as well, so it doesn't matter. You're not going to... It's not going to be open to the elements. I reverse stitched, and I also will have the thing rolled up over it and anchored and everything else, so it doesn't need it. This side, okay, I'm just going to slightly adjust this pocket because it's not lying quite flat. Anytime you're doing pleats and stuff, always double check. Once you've sewn one side, check the other side, because your fabric stretches. I don't need to pin that pleat down, I only need to pin the pocket so that it's in the right place. There we go. Okay, so the scallops go that way on the machine. So to make it match, I'll have to come down this way. So because this fabric slips very slightly, I'm going to move it up a scooch, like literally millimeters, so that as the fabric gets sewn down, it kind of pushes it down, and then this will line up at the bottom. That would be the plan. Okay. Everything lying down properly. Where are we starting? About there. Check your stitch. Yep, off we go. Oh, where's the end of that pin? I don't want to accidentally run over it. And I'm using the black line as a guide, so I'm kind of... Whoops. Too fast! Too fast! Take your foot off the accelerator. See how it's bunching up here? That's what's going to push the fabric down a bit, so that it will line up at the bottom. Sorry, keep banging the camera. Okay. So I'm going to do the same here now. Oh, it's a bit looser on that side. Tension's a bit off. That probably means the bobbin's running out. Bloody hate it when bobbins run out. Yay! They're letting off fireworks again. This has been constant from 7 o'clock in the evening until 2 o'clock in the morning every night for over a week now. Constant fireworks. It's driving me batty. Miss Maddie does not like it. I do not like it. It's not big. It's not clever. It's not funny. Where'd my scissors go? I literally just had them, literally just used them. Where did they go? Okay, where's my scissors? Literally, just use them. Where have my scissors gone, guys? Anyone? Did I not literally just cut a thread with them? Am I going mad? Yeah, okay, Katie, no worries. We've done all right this stream, actually. We haven't had anybody coming in being an idiot. Okay. I don't know where my scissors have gone. I literally cut a thread with them, put them down, sewed the thread through the material, went to pick them up again, and they're gone. What the hell? How can you lose a pair of scissors in less than a foot of space? Well, bugger. Okay, I'll have to look for them in a minute. I'm going to have to stop in a minute because the fireworks are getting worse. Maddie's starting to stress. I can feel her huffing on my leg. So I'll finish this. And then for those of you who are following along, I will give you instructions for what to do for the rest of it. To put the rest of the pockets on. And then we can finish it next week, right? So anchoring stitches again. Make sure it goes all the way down through the fabric, not just into the pocket seam. When you get to a point like this, where you inevitably will, where your thread won't pull through far enough for you to knot it off, Just back it up through the loop and then pull it all through. There we go. That's that done. So for the rest of it, is super, super simple. So one more time for this pocket. This pocket is going to sit here. Okay. We're going to hand stitch the top edge of the lining of the pocket. We're going to hand stitch some ribbon or bias binding or a bit of material, whatever you've got handy, a bit of scrap of one of these, just sew it over and bind it so that it covers the raw edge, and it will also reinforce this pocket. Then you're going to put press studs or hooks or a bit of Velcro or whatever it is you want to use to close the pocket, and I suggest ironing down the top so that you know where your seam is here. Then you're going to embroider down both sides or hand sew on, whichever you want to do, but you're going to do it on both sides, but don't include the top because you want that to close. And then you're going to sew it inside onto the backing stitch here. I suppose, actually, no, belay that. We're going to put a nice strong zigzag stitch here. Nice and strong. Good strong back stitch if you're hand sewing. We're going to fold this over. We're going to put a really good strong anchor stitch like this on this corner. I'm going to leave this open so that we're going to pocket at the back. Ta-da! Am I good or what? So now we've got a triple layer pocket there. You can put little bits of paper in or something, or some more pens. You got a little pocket for your stickers or stamps or whatever, and you got a little pocket to put paper clips in or stick clips on or whatever you want to do. Put your eraser in it, whatever. Cool, huh? So that's that pocket. The other two pockets, we're going to make one short. So I'm going to say about half the length. The same height as the purple pocket when it's closed. Let's say that. So, hang on. I don't know if this will stay in place because it's been moved, but it might decide to move. But let's hope that it stays there for the moment. Let's autofocus it. There we go. All right. So this is what we've got so far. This is sewn down. You could, if you want to, do some pretty stitching on this or something. Or you could just sew elastics on it or whatever. Do whatever you want with this bit. It's literally just somewhere to sew elastics onto, so you could put like a pair of scissors on there, or you could put some more pens, or like, I don't know, maybe you smoke and you want a lighter. Mika. You know, whatever it is you want to put there, just little bits that you can stick under elastics, because not everything fits in pockets, right? You've got your three-way pocket, so we're going to zigzag the sides, tack it across the back. No, belay that. We're going to zigzag the sides, do the front, do the hem, put some press studs on it. We're not going to put anything at the back. We're going to leave it open, so that's an extra pocket. This pocket, all we've got to do with this one, once we seam up the edges here, we just take out all the basting stitches, and then that is big enough. Actually, these basting stitches can come out already, because let me show you how to do that. Actually, I put them to my left. No, that's my big scissors. I'm looking for my little scissors, my little crochet scissors, my little embroidery scissors that I like to use because they're so tiny and they get into little nooks and crannies where other scissors cannot reach. I don't know where they are. They've just poof. Oh, they're not caught up in my hair somewhere, are they? Because that happens. I lost a pencil the other day. It was caught in my hair. I turned around in the kitchen and stabbed myself in the neck with a pencil and went, oh, that's where my pencil went. Anyway. So let me show you how to take these basting stitches out. Normally, I would use my little scissors closed to do this, but I'm just going to use this because it's just as easy. All you do is you unpick these stitches. This is why you don't tie knots in them, because all you got to do is pull them out. See? There they are! They're in my waste fabric pile. What the hell are they doing over there? Okay, so this is now a pleated pocket. If you want to make this a bit more secure, which is what I've done in my sewing elastic thing, I've actually run a bit of, you know, shearing elastic, you know, the really thin string stuff. You could put a little bit of shearing elastic up through that, like between the hem and the edge of the thing. So you just run it through and knot it all off at the back. Like sew it down through and knot it off at the back here. And that will add a little bit of elastic to that so it holds a little bit better. But honestly, I'm not going to bother because I think that's going to work just fine. Hang on, let me put a pin in the bottom. I forgot I haven't basted this bit down, so let me put a pin in it just where it's going to be held in place so we can see the actual pocket in action. This is a flat stitch. It does need basting, but in order to show you the pocket, I need to do that. Ta-da! See how this flaps open? So if you did want to, there's lots of ways you could do it. You could put a bit of cord, a very thin piece of cord, or a ribbon, just sew it through the fabric and tie it in a bow. So you can string this together. That's another way of doing it. Incidentally, if you made 2 of these and sewed them together and put a drawstring through the top, you've then got a taro bag. Yeah, that simple. This actually would have been fine. Exactly the right size for this tin if I sewed it all down on the sides here. But I don't want to do that in case I want to put something else in this pocket because, you know, sometimes I might want to put this in and this is slightly wider and not as thick. They're slightly different sizes. Or I might want to put my phone in there or something. So I don't want to do that. But like I say, what you can do is just, like in between the hem and the fabric, come up through the back of the fabric, go into here with your embroidery needle. Use a blunt embroidery needle is the best thing to do, like a big-eyed needle. Run your shearing elastic along here, down through the back of there, pull it so that it goes tight and bunches up, and then knot it off at the appropriate length. So your pocket should look something like that when it's closed, and then you can open it up and put whatever you want in. Alternatively, if that sounds a bit too complicated, you could simply put a bit of material, just make a bit of material like this. So what you would do is you'd cut a piece of material, turn it over, hem it down one side, down the long side, so it's half the width, and then turn it inside out, and then flatten it. So it'd just be like that. It would look like that. Okay, and then you can hem that into that edge and put that down there like that and put a press stud. So anything you put in that pocket isn't going to fall out. That's an alternative way of doing it if you don't think you can handle shearing elastic. Or, like I say, just take a bodkin and a bit of thin ribbon, like baby ribbon, and just sew it in and out and in and out and in and out and pull it out at the middle and chop it in half and make a bow. It'll work exactly the same, trust me. In fact, actually, it's a really good use for these things, which I meant to cut off my jumper earlier because they get caught on my dreads. I don't ever use these things on any piece of garment. Let me show you. Let me show you. Why talk you through it when I can show you? Okay, so you want a big-eyed needle with a point. There's lots of different types of big-eyed needle. A big-eyed needle with kind of a point, but only at the very tip. That sounds weird. It's a rounded edge, but it's got a very, very tiny point. That is an embroidery needle. Cross-stitch needle, sorry. A big-eyed needle with no tip. It's completely rounded and blunt, and you couldn't do anything with it. That is for sewing, like knitting together. That's a bodkin. What you actually want is something like this, which is actually a leather needle. So this is really sharp, but it's got a big eye. Trim your ribbon so it's at a corner ways, makes it easier to thread. I do that with all the bits of ribbon. My embroidery scissors aren't very sharp anymore. I'm going to have to get a new pair. Because you can't take them anywhere to get them sharpened anymore. The butcher used to do it, but they don't do it anymore. It's now illegal. Well, that's not true. It's not illegal for them to sharpen your scissors for you. What's illegal is for you to carry scissors around with you in order to go and get them sharpened. Okay. So we'll pop that through there. We could tie a knot in this, but I don't like knots. So instead, what I'm going to do is just put a paper clip through the end. And I will sew this down flat at the back. I don't like knots, but by all means, if you want to tie a knot, tie a knot. I don't care what you do. I just don't like things having knot. I'm not a knot person. I'm not a knot person. Okay, I'm just going to shove that through there to stop it coming up through the fabric. So I want it to come up maybe about here. So let's do it in between that stitch there. Now it's going to be tricky to get it through because it's a thick needle and it's very thin fabric. So use your thimble. That's what they're there for, okay? So I'm going to pull it gently. See, that paper clip will stop it coming through. So I'll just pull it down a bit so I've got enough to knot it down. Where's the halfway point? About there. Let's say about there. So there and there I'm aiming for. Don't sew your pleat down, sew through your pleat. So I'm just going to do 1, 2, 3, and I want to come up on that little dot there. Push that all through. Like that. Okay, there's one side. Pull it back down here so we've got plenty to knot it. Again, all I'll do with this is just backstitch it all the way down to keep it in place. But for now, because there's loads of material, I will just tie a knot. Okay, pull it through. Job done. Do the same on the other side. and then you've got a drawstring. Make sure you come up on this dot that you marked on the other side, and then you've got a drawstring that you can just pull that closed, tighten it, tie a bow. It's the alternative. I actually quite like that because although I'm not a bows person, the black is my jam. I like the black. Okay, I'm just gonna tie those together for now with a slip knot so that I can get them undone again later, but also so I can find the other bit of ribbon, because you know me and losing things. Okay. The other two pockets, super simple because they are literally just bigger versions of this one. So I'm going to take, again, this is going to be folded down. Let me just put the paper clip on it to show you what it actually looks like. There we go. I'll draw up a pattern for this, for those of you who need a pattern, okay? I will draw up a pattern and put it on a PDF for my patrons. So if you're over on Patreon at the $1 tier, you'll be able to get the pattern for this and download it and print it out, and then you'll know exactly. It won't be to scale. It won't be like a cut it out and print it out, cut it out, put it on the material kind of pattern. But it'll be a basic pattern that'll show you the sizes to cut things, so that if you need sizes, you can have sizes. So for the rest of this, I'm going to cut, I think I'm going to use this piece here where it's actually got a natural fold. So I will put a yellow pocket there, which I will make tall so that it accommodates tall things like water brushes and stuff. And then this pocket I will make that big. This will all line up and all match together. They'll be cut straight and everything, but not right now. So this pocket will be the same height as the purple pocket, right? Because then what you can do is you could put something here, like you could put some elastic here. So you could put like that in there, right? And maybe you put a piece of elastic here that you could put your spare thingies for this in. Or you could do a double layer pocket. So exactly like we did before, just take another piece of material like that, and then you can put that in there at the back. Could even make it a pleated pocket like this if you wanted to, because this wouldn't fit in a flat pocket obviously, but you could make a pleated pocket and then you've got somewhere to put your spare film. Lots of things you can do with this. You just need a bit of imagination. I actually quite like the idea of putting another another patch pocket on there actually, because this is where I would put pens and pencils and that kind of thing. And I kind of think that it would be useful to have my eraser and my whiteout. So what I could even do, a little patch pocket that goes right the way across, but stitch it onto this pocket vertically. I might do that. That could work. Let's do it. Let's do it! Make it the same size as the green. I think I've just accidentally cut mine too short, but that doesn't matter. I'll just make my yellow one wider. So you make a little patch pocket like this and pop it onto there. But instead of just sewing it all the way round, on there, and on there, you could also sew it in the middle, but only onto this pocket. So it'd be a flat pocket to put your eraser in and your glue, a little mini glue stick or whatever. And then you can put your pens and pencils behind there. You've got this for your long brushes and water brushes and things like that. You could even, if you're going to use this for like water brushes and stuff, you could even put a couple of bits of elastic across here so that you could put a fountain pen in here. So you've got a little thing for your fountain pen. So you just put a piece of elastic there, and a piece of elastic there, small enough to hold your fountain pen. So you can put your fountain pen in it. Or, another idea, I'm getting carried away now, but you could make a long pocket, so a long patch pocket, like that, and put it on there, and put your fountain pen in that. You could even do it like this, so that you've got a closure for your fountain pen pocket. There's no end to the amount of things you could do with this. You could put another pocket up here. There's nothing to say that you can't put anything there. Or you could just put bits of elastic across. You could just put a piece of elastic across and sew it down and just have somewhere that you can pop little short pencils or whatever's, whatchamacallits. Ha 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 ha! This is Halloween, this is Halloween. So yeah, that's what you do with that. And of course, if you want to make a mini one, you could make a mini one for sewing, or you could make a bigger one for knitting. Maybe you could do it so that you can actually tri-fold it like that, or even half fold it and put handles on it so that you can put your knitting wool in there, fold it up and carry it like that. So you can put your ball of yarn in it. Freaking cute, and it's all made out of scraps. Yay! I'm excited to finish this now. I want to finish it. Finish it! So, if you're going to do this, get it to the point next week where it is ready to have the back put on. So if you're using a back piece like this is very flimsy. I think I might put a bit of stiffening on it. So iron on your stiffening, or put in your stiffening if you're going to use that. See you, Risha. Have that ready. That's all you need to do with that. Just put your stiffening on if you want some. Or, contrary-wise, if you've got a bit of stiffer fabric, like I've got loads of that canvas left. Like this heavy pink canvas, which I'm never going to use for anything. I could actually just use that and put that inside, and that would make it stiff enough. Just layer it inside. So you don't have to have stiffening fabric. You can use an extra piece of canvas or something if you've got it lying around. Anything that will roll up will be fine. And get everything on here to the point where you no longer need to access the back. So you don't have to have finished everything on it. This doesn't need to be finished. Nothing else needs to be finished. You just need to be at the point where you don't have to access this bit. Because once we sew that bit on, you won't be able to access this again. It is a bit like a utility belt. In fact, oh my God, Fiona, what a fab idea. Dude, you could make it. Oh my God, what a fabulous idea. I've just you've just given me an awesome idea. Okay, here's what we do. We do our thing. We put our fabric around the back, okay? So it's gonna look flat on the outside and it's gonna look like that on the inside. And because we need a tie on it, right? Now, if you were doing a regular wrap, you'd use something like a ribbon or something. You'd roll it up, blah, 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 and then you'd wrap your tie around the middle, right? But it doesn't have to be in the middle, does it? If you put your tie at the top and made it really long, you could literally just wrap it round to hold this together. But when you opened it up, this would turn into a little pinny. Exactly like a utility belt. That you would have a ribbon there that's your closure that you can just tie around your waist. Or put it with Velcro, hang it on your desk. Or you could put some eyelets in these bits and use some S hooks. You know, the S, they're literally an S shape like that hang on things. And if you've got one of those rolly carts, you could hang it on the S hooks and hang it on your rolly cart so it sits on the front of your rolly cart. There's so many things you could do with this. So many things. I like the idea of turning it into a little pinny. Because especially if you were standing up working, I know a lot of people like to stand up and work. I'm not one of those people. But if you wanted to, you would literally have everything on your belt. Cool, eh? I like it. And if you want to do the old Victorian thing, like Glian, you could make this in white and sew it onto another piece of white fabric to make a long pinny. And this would be all the pockets. And then you could sew these. You could sew the back piece on. So you've got two big pockets and all these little pockets like a utility belt on your pinny. So many ideas for this. I'm gonna have to write them all down and show you all the different configurations, because it literally is just brainstorming at this point. I'm just like, oh, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this. Loads of different things you can do. Yeah. Okay. I need to eat. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to put all my little bits away so I know where to find them later. Put my needles in my needle pot. Some scrap threads there. Pop those on there. There we go. Da 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 da. I made this too. This is one of these, okay? Exactly the same, except instead of leaving that bit open, I sewed a zip in it. And I hand stitched it because it was too much trouble to do it any other way. I need to finish putting the poppers on. I only had half a popper. So I showed people how to put the popper on, but I only had half a popper. But yeah, this is going to have poppers on. That's something else I'm going to do. I'm going to add that to my list. And that lives in my sewing thing. That's just got my pin box and my clippy claws, my crabby claws. I don't know what they're called. My crabby claws. Because when I'm using them, see, I can have this out on the desk and then I can just clip them to the lip like that so they don't get lost and they don't disappear. But that is basically that but I put a little short zip. I turned that in and put a zip on one side, and then I turned it over and I sewed the zip to the other side, and then it zips. That's it. This is a bit too small to put a zip on. You can't really... Well, you probably could get a zip this small if you look under doll's clothes or something, but I don't do normal zips most of the time because there's so much hassle. So there's no way I'm sewing a zip that small. Press studs will do. So I'm going to finish off these bits, and then next week we'll be at the point where we have all of this done. We have this prepped and ready. And all we've got to do then is sew one to the other and bind down the thing and put some ties on it, and we are done. So you're also going to need some ties. I recommend something like grosgrain ribbon like this because it's double-edged and it doesn't fray. And you'll need however much you need is the answer. If you only want to tie it round and tie it in a knot or a bow, then you will only need that much. If you are just going to wrap it round and stick a bit of Velcro on each end, then you might only need that much. If you're going to wrap it round your waist, and you've got a waist like mine, you might need 3 miles. Judge it yourself. Okay? I will endeavour to write this up as a poem. As a poem? I'm going to write it up as a poem. Squeeze me? I will endeavour to write this up as a pattern with approximate measurements. But don't forget that my approximate measurements work in halves and thirds. So it'll be like, make 2 bits this size and 2 bits the same size and 2 bits, 1 bit that fits in the middle of the 2. You know, it won't be like 3 inches here and 4 inches here. I mean, I'll give you approximate measurements, but it doesn't have to be exact. Just finagle it until it fits. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. Look under my fabric for what? What am I looking under my fabric for? Is that a message from about 3 hours ago when I lost my scissors? Oh, gnomes! Look under your fabric for gnomes. Yeah. These clippy claws are really handy for these kind of projects because you've got all these little bits. You just wrap them all up, put some crabby claws on it. Thanks for joining me, guys. Hope you've had fun. If you are making one of these pen wrap thingies, tag me on Instagram. Post it on Instagram and tag me at Romany. Because I'd love to see what you're coming up with. Or even if you're making something slightly different, you know, you might be making one that's literally just this big to put some pens in. Because nothing says it has to be this big. Alright, see you again soon, guys. Bye-bye.